Hey everybody, this is Talking with Carl back again for another February theme spoiler review month. Next couple of movies that I'll be talking about is a fun but a little bit on the serious side. But boy I enjoy them growing up because they are amazing films. So the first one is I think I consider it part of Black History Month. It stars Jimmy Fox, but co-stars also with Jada Pinkett Smith and Tom Cruise. This is before Jada went off the freaking rails, in my opinion. But I'm not going to delve all into that. But yeah, it's like literally, like this coming August, it'll be like 20 years. This film will be 20 years old this coming August. How wild is that? But the movie is Collateral, directed by Michael Mann, who's done some amazing crime thriller films like Miami Vice, also starring Jamie Foxx with co-starring Colin Farrell. And at some point I want to do that movie for a review. Probably should put that on the list because that one I remember having so much fun watching that. I think I had that on DVD. Now I already got. I was gonna put it on like the list of Father's Day films, but I got like a good handful already, so I might just put on this to the regular list because it's such a dad type of movie, though. Like just awesome action. But I don't know. And the cinematography in certain Michael Mann films are just superb. But anyway, this movie stars Tom Cruise as Vincent, Jimmy Foxx as Max Durocher, Jada Pinkett Smith as Annie Farrell, Mark Ruffalo, early Mark Ruffalo plays Ray Fanning, Peter Berg as Richard Wider, Bruce McGill as Frank Pedrosa. So, and we got also this is wild to me, and it's always been left uncertain. But we also get Jason Statham as like the airport man, but everybody is concluded and agreed that this is his character from the Transporter films. And it's like a weird crossover that we didn't expect a crossover. As soon as everybody saw this, and it was like, wait a minute, why is the transporter guy never was resolved? And it's kind of wild to me. I was like, whoa, that is just like just one of those fun oddball crossovers. It's never resolved. It's just like a funny thing that Michael Mann just implemented. I'm not sure why, but it's cool. I'm surprised they just call him Airport Man. They just call him the Transporter. Just resolve it as the Transporter. Javier Bardem as the gangster Felix Reyes Torina. As a matter of fact, I should also put the Transporter films on the list. I didn't care for the third Transporter film, but like the first was, really fun. Sorry. I sure when I'll probably get around to it, but it's like, yeah, I really want to revisit that. The first two ones are stellar, but the last one I don't remember liking that much. Anyway, uh, so the movie begins with, you know, and this is one of those rare occasions where I kind of wish this is before, because you forget Tom Cruise is an incredible character actor, because he plays great villains, but only two villains we can think of is Lestat in an Interview with a Vampire, which I also reviewed up on my channel, youtube.com/talking of Carl. If you want to check out my review of Interview with the Vampire, I did for last Halloween. Check that out on the channel. But also, that movie gave me the idea. Put this movie on the list of February movie month reviews, because, you know, not only is it appropriate for like Black History Month, given Jamie Foxx and Jada Pinkett Smith and stuff like that, but Tom Cruise was an amazing villain in this, and over time, he just seems like resolved himself. Maybe because of ego, I'm not sure. He just resolves himself as being like just like the Rock, just resolve themselves into like, we gotta play the leading good guy man, because I got an image and everything like that. I can't, you know, look like, you know, just like, that's why I gotta hate that Tom Cruise mummy film, because he can't resolve himself, where, because it would have been a cool idea to have a female mummy instead of like a male mummy, just to switch it up, because the woman was great, but it's just like, no, I got to be the mummy. Why? You got to be the leading man. You cannot lose. It's like all this other stuff that kind of dragged the entire movie down to the pits of hell. And you could have just, if he wanted to be the leading person, they should have just made him the mummy and been done with it. But at that time, the Dark Universe was like doomed to fail anyway. They probably getting back on track, because they just announced like a werewolf, or at least like a Wolfman film, not starring Ryan Gosling for some reason. I thought Ryan Gosling was supposed to be like a Wolfman, but they showed like a image of somebody else going to be doing it. Anyway, like, I'm going off on a tangent, but I'm just saying that Tom Cruise can play amazing villains, and it's a shame that he didn't continue it, at least have like a fair share of that in his repertoire. It's mostly just hero action dude. And of course, there is a character he plays in a small bit in Tropic Thunder, where he's just like, kind of, you know, I only watched Tropic Thunder one time, and I vaguely remember his character as like a bald dude who's kind of like eccentric or something like that. But I don't know. Didn't stand out all that much to me, as, you know, to other people, but because it got all these, you know, crazy actors already, you know, with like, you know, Robert Downey Jr., Ben Stiller, Jack Black. You know, they already like, you know, very like extra with their personalities, so it's kind of like overshadowing whatever Tom Cruise might be doing, and he's not the central focus, which is like rare in terms of Tom Cruise stuff. Anyway, uh, Tom Cruise picks up this package from the transporter and heads off to the airport. All the while we're in LA, we meet this character, Max, who is a cab driver, and he ends up, and this is one of those kind of good, you know, really cool films where it's set in either one particular day or like a particular evening or something like that, like the movie Friday, or Clerks, where it's like you put all this story into one section of a day, and you do it so well. It's incredible. I'm always fascinated by movies like that, and how well a writer and director can put that stuff, and like so much story in one particular day or one particular evening is so creative, and like I applaud that. So Max picks up this woman named Anne, who's like this lawyer, and she's trying to get to her office, and she thinks going a particular way is the right way, and it's supposed to be faster. But being a cab driver, he's like, no, there's gonna be traffic, and you might get caught up. So going down this way, I'm not from LA. I'm not sure how the roads are because they always seem cluttered to me on the outside looking in. But she places a bet with them, and of course he was right. And uh and if he was right, she well, if she was right, she didn't have to pay. But they get to talking, and he, discusses about this. He worked as a cab driver for 12 years, and he's building up to this dream of owning his own limousine company, but not just any limousine company. He wanted to make it like a vacation on wheels, essentially. And he's been building all this money in order to get all the funds that he need to secure, all his ducks in a row. Because he can't, it's not, as he puts it, it's not just getting a car. It's not just getting a car and like the license or whatever like that. It's a lot more I wanted to do with it, and that's what he's been saving up. And in order, the one thing that keeps him going, he has this picture of this island where it's like he takes like, mentally a mini vacation every time he looks at it, so that way it kind of keeps him motivated, which I thought was kind of charming. And she tells him about how, like, she got this big case she's working on, and she's worried about not looking stupid or not, got anything together because he's prosecuting somebody. And most lawyers, puke, but me, I got a strong stomach, so I end up crying. And he ascertains, like, it sounds like you need a vacation. So he hands her his photograph for her so she can look at it, so she can have her mini vacation to try to, decompress, or at least like alleviate any stress, so that way she can better focus, so she won't get pent up. And she in turn hands him her business card. Clearly they were flirting with each other, liking each other. All in my mind, granted this is 20 years after the fact, all in my mind I'm thinking like, easy dude, she might end up writing a book about you and embarrassing your ass on live television. Just I joke, but it's just like, now Jada's kind of like, I don't know what is going on in her mind. It just seems like kind of effed up in my opinion, but whatever. Man, it's like, don't know what the hell happened to her over the years. But so then, ironically, as she's, because I don't know, it was like her office is connected to like a subway or something. I'm not sure. That's always confusing me. Like, why is like a lawyer office or attorney's buildings, so closely connected to a subway underpass? I'm not sure. Oh, that seems like, it may be a real thing in LA. I'm not sure. I'm from Chicago. I never, like, I never been to like an attorney's office or anything like that. But in my mind's eye, it would make any sense for them to be so closely connected to a subway. Because can you imagine the level of noise and all this other stuff? Like, I don't know. It just seems kind of weird. But as she's going up the escalator, you see, Vincent coming off the train and coming down the escalator, and honestly, he looks, Tom Cruise, of course, he always seems to look younger over the years than he should be. He's in his, early 60s right now. But here he got this whole, the makeup giving like this kind of grayish hair and stuff like that. But it's like, it's kind of look pretty spot on, really good look for Tom Cruise here. But he goes up to Max's cab, and he explains to Max that he's on real estate business, so he's only here for one night and you got to make some rounds. So he tells him where he needs to go, and they get to talking. They like palling around, and Max alludes to his dream, but he didn't want to tell like this complete stranger, even though he tells Annie, but he's feeling her, so he's a little bit more he's less hesitant on telling her, a little bit more open. But Max is understanding and everything like that, and once he gets to the destination, he offers Max $600 if he he tells a story about how, like, because he doesn't he doesn't like LA, he doesn't stay too long there. He explains to Max where about this crazy story he read about where there's passenger on the MTA train, dies, and it literally takes several stops before anybody even noticed they was riding on the same train compartment as a dead person, and like nobody cares. And it's like you see later on more and more where Vincent has this very nihilistic view, very proto Rick Sanchez in terms of nihilism. But he offers Max $600 to be his cab driver for tonight, because he's only gonna be here for one night, and he just gotta make he has a total of 5 stops to make. Of course, he's hesitant, but this is like a big boost in funds for him, so he takes the money, and he says like it was an extra 100 if he doesn't have to run to the airport when it's all done. So Max parks in the alleyway, so he doesn't want to be double parked, and Vincent goes to this apartment building, and while Max is trying to eat his sandwich while staring at a magazine, all of a sudden a body drops on top of his cab, and he's freaking out, and Vincent comes down, and Max realizes, like, you kill him? It's like Tom Cruise and Jamie Foxx's delivery, their chemistry in this is phenomenal. It's like, honestly, it's incredible. But it's like, you forget that Tom Cruise can be funny if he puts his freaking ego to the side and be a normal person. He can be very funny. And it's like, no, I didn't kill him. The bullets in the fall did. It's like very matter of fact. It's like, and so he pulls a gun on Vincent. It reveals that he's a hitman. And now it's like, it's like, well, I need you to be my driver for the night. I paid you. And so they stuffed the body in the trunk. It takes like a big bottle of water to like wash, the rinse off the blood off the calf so it doesn't acquire any kind of unwanted attention. So now Max is hyperventilating. He's like, oh my god, like, I don't know what the heck is going on. And Vincent is trying to tell him, like, breathe through your nose, calm down. It's like, and it's like, what you worry about? It's like, it's like he's started comparing the situation to the thing with Rwanda and Hotel Rwanda and all the tragedy that went through. And it's like, it's like, he's like, if Max like, I don't know any Rwandans. You don't know that fat guy either. You throw a hissy fit over one dead fat guy, and he's completely, some like, just the callousness and the like, the lack of empathy. He's a complete sociopath, essentially. It's just a lack of empathy for his fellow man. It's just like, and then he's trying to ease Max's, like, mind by saying, like, if it makes you feel any better, he was like a criminal. So so he's taking, like, he orders Max to take him to his next stop, and he ends up going to this fancier apartment. He ties Max's zip ties Max's hands to the steering wheel, and then that's where like Max's boss calls on a dispatch. I'm not sure how many people like really use cabs these days. Anyway, are they completely just obsolete at this point? But Max's boss calls on dispatch. Uh, 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 because after they leave from the first spot, they get pulled over by the cops because of like the broken like lights on the car, and Vince tells them like, "Don't let me get caught, because I will kill these guys. Do not let me get caught." And luckily, the cops get called in about like a shooting in the area they was coming from, so they managed to slip through that situation. And we meet up with like Fanning, Mark Ruffalo's character, who who called it in because he came to visit, because the dead guy turns out to be his informant, and he finds out that there's his windows broken out, and there's clearly a scuffle, and the body is gone. So what the heck is going on? And clearly there's blood on the ground outside and bullet casings. So then there's like a line he points out to one of his fellow officers or detectives, where it's like, remember that situation back in Oakland about like a cab, and there was like some killings around that situation. Then all of a sudden the detective who worked the case found that cabbie who seemingly offed himself, and it's like, yeah, I heard about that. Well, the detective for that never sat right with him, because that cab driver never had any kind of priors, no mental deficiency or anything like that. Like, but all of a sudden he turns into some kind of crazy psychopath. It's like it never makes sense. So they kind of alludes to Vincent. It's always seemed like that was the case, where it's like a little line where Vincent, partly his MO is utilizing cab drivers in order to get them to certain places to commit his hits, and essentially forces them, and to leave no loose ends, ultimately kills these guys. And now you're worried about like, Max, like you think like he's befriending Max, but this guy doesn't have any kind of empathy. He fakes empathy. He's more like a sociopath. He understands empathy, I'm imagining, but it's just like you're dreading for Max all along this way, where it's like, oh my god, if it's carried on to the end of the night, you can't have Max blabbing to the cops, because Vincent, nobody knows Vincent's face. When he's hired for something, he makes sure he keeps his anonymity. I never can say that word. He keeps his identity anonymous. So you can't have Max potentially going to the cops one day, because he knows he probably will. So I was like, yeah, you worry for Max. So he goes to this. They're at this swankier apartment, and the dispatcher, the boss, calls on dispatch, and it's like grilling and berating Max, just like a shitty boss. And Max listens to this, and it's like, who is that? That's my boss. He's gonna keep calling. Like, yeah, he's gonna keep calling to answer. So Vincent takes the radio, puts it to Max's face so he can answer, so he can like keep him from arousing suspicion. And the dispatcher gets word from the police about like Max's vehicle being hit by a supposed deer or whatever like that, and it's like holding Max liable. And Vincent's listening. It's like, and he, very informed individual, very well read, and tells Max like, it's like, you're not tell him you're not liable. You're, that you're this supposed, like, the taxi service insurance should be able to cover incidents like this. Max relays that message, and of course, Vincent overhears him, like, the boss clearly trying to take money out of Max's pocket, laying blame on him. And so Vincent just takes over. It's like, it's like, excuse me, like, what are you trying to pull? And it's like, who's this? And he gives like a fake government agent or a lawyer or something like that. I was like, I'm like from law office, from the agency or law office or blah 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 blah. Like, I should bring you up on charges, you prick. And it's like, let's not get too excited here. Get too excited. I'm sitting there, like, listening to you, like, railroad this hardworking man. You know full well this your insurance should cover the damages. And it convinces, like, puts the mic to Max's face, like, call him an asshole. You're an asshole. Tell him you're gonna shove this yellow cab up his ass, up his fat ass. And you pull this shit again, put this yellow cab up your fat ass. The whole thing still makes me laugh because I remember laughing at this as a kid. Because it's like, because I say that, Vincent lacks any kind of empathy, but it's just like, to some degree, I like to think to some degree, he looks at Max as like some type of kinship. He considers them like partners. I'm not a doctor, or so I can't really call like the exact mental state of Vincent in this kind of situation, but the way I like to think is that to his warped mind considers Max some type of partners in crime, essentially. And like the idea of his friend getting railroaded by his boss, it's like, all through this night, you see like Vincent's outward look is kind of rubbing off on Max, who seems more like a very meek individual. Like, he's just a common man. It's like very mild mannered and doesn't want to rock the boat because he wants to build his money, so he's not going to sit there and cause any friction. But the chaos, I want to say chaos, but the worldview of Vincent is like, gravitate towards him, showing like you can't let people like walk over you. And it's like, as you see later, as he points out about Max's dream, it's like, some people say they got like all this hopes and dreams, but you're a guy who you're not just talking, you're actually doing something. I respect that. I think that was the moment where Vincent sees something in Max. It's like, no, you're a guy that do. So it's like, I respect that. It's like, I don't respect people who just talk about what they want. They actually put in the effort. So that's why he so quickly to, stand up for Max in this kind of situation. I thought it was kind of funny. So he goes up to the apartment to this kind of like criminal lawyer, different person, is a white guy, and obviously going to kill this dude. And then while Max is trying to get the attention of anybody to come in this alley to try to rescue him, these two thugs come in and robbed his take his wallet and Vincent's briefcase that's in the back seat. Vincent comes out in time and just like super efficiently like assassinate these guys, with very precision skills, where just 2 shots to the chest, 2 in the heart, 2 shots in the chest and 2 in the head, and it's just like quick, rapid succession. And imagine that Tom Cruise had to. Well, I'm pretty sure he always trained with all the Mission Impossible movies he was doing at that time. I'm pretty sure he was very trained and efficient in terms of like gun combat. And like the gun in Michael Mann's films, when it comes to guns, it sounds so realistic, like actual gunfire. I don't know, it's just like, at least to me, the sound frequency in like, it's something like I don't know, like the gunfights in like Terminator 2 sounds vastly different to like how the gun sounds in this film, or even Miami Vice movie, where they actually sound like gunshots being fired realistically. Obviously not realistically, but it's just like the sound seems like authentic, while as opposed to these fake big booms that you typically see in certain action films. Hell, even like John Wick films, the sounds of those guns seems slightly more authentic compared to certain action films. At least in how I'm hearing it. I could be wrong, but that's how I feel. Because the echo, the gunshot in the alleyway seems like, oh, that sounds like a real gunshot. Oh, it's like, wow, it's like that real bang. So he unties Max and explains to him like, do not do that again, because certain people will end up dying where they didn't need to die. So don't try to, gather any unwanted attention. So it made the way to like fill up the tank of the cab, and they're like, oh, we're good news, we're ahead of schedule, so let's let's go to this jazz club. So they end up going to this jazz club, and Vincent is just like digging this trumpet player, and he tells the waitress that I like to meet like the trumpet player, really dig his style. So once the place is starting to clear out, Vincent, Max, and the trumpet player, because he's also a character actor who was also in Miami Vice, uh uh Daniel Baker, played by Barry Shabaka Henley, who is telling a story about how he met Miles Davis and how he played on stage with him when he was a young guy. It was before like the war. And I'm pretty sure, I think he said he was born in 45, so I imagine it was like before the war of Vietnam, where he actually got to play on stage. And of course he was, and like he's talking like Miles looked at him and was just like, cool. And it's like, he's like, you're good but you're not rated. That's how he defined it. And it's like, when you want to really learn how to play, look me up. And of course he never did, because he was drafted into the Vietnam and all that kind of petered out. But then Vincent says like, man, that's an incredible story. I gotta tell Reyes this, once it's all over. And then it's just like the look of dread that the actor is a phenomenal character actor that I've seen him from stuff here and there, but the look of just overall at ease and just chill vibes, all that was washed away with just that one sentence of that, or at least that name, and the look of dread that came over his face. And and of course Max starts getting pick up what's being put down right now, and it's like, come on man, it's like, you don't have to do this. It's like, Vince was like, I told you I got a job to do, so stay out of this. So he tells Daniel that he'll let him walk and let him try to go run and hide if he's able to answer this Miles Davis question. So he answered, because he supposedly knows everything about Miles Davis because he's such a huge fan. So he presented him with a question, and of course he gives like where did Miles Davis study music? Give an answer, but like he shot him, and then according to Max, he got the answer right, but I guess to Vincent he wasn't technically right, because Vincent, he always, you know, he mumbled. I should have had like the, you know, like the subtitles on so I can understand what he was saying, because he mumbled it like the real answer. It's very Riddler-esque, where it's like that on the surface level, Daniel said like the right answer, but there's a little more to it. In a way, it's like uh, um, Miles did this and this and this, you know, while trying to study under, uh, uh, you know, to learn music and everything like that. So it's like a lot more to it than just one school or anything like that. So, then once again, dispatcher calls Max, explains that Max's mom keeps calling, and then Vincent asks, like, you know, do you visit your mother like every night? Yeah, like nearly. Well, you're gonna have to go. I was like, I'm not telling you to see my mother. It's not negotiable, because if you don't go, that breaks routine. Breaking routine causes like suspicion, which we don't need right now. So we're going to you see your mother. And so they get all the way to the hospital because his mom was in the hospital. Yeah, like being treated with something. I'm not sure, but it was never explained. So they go to the hospital, and Vincent's like, you know, whoa, are you gonna buy your mother some flowers? She doesn't like flowers. This woman carried you in her belly for 9 months. You're not gonna buy her flowers? And this is like, this character leaves you like very whiplash, because like he's cold as a, because he's a hitman. Cause you have to be cold. You gotta like have like zero empathy to so be able to do what you're doing. But the fact that he also has moments like this where it's like, the woman carried you in her body for 9 months. You're not gonna buy her freaking flowers? What the hell's wrong with you? It's total whiplash for this character. So it's like you never know where you land with this guy. You literally have a good drink talking about jazz was doing. Next moment, he's literally putting a gun to your head. It's like, what? He's an awesome character, honestly. Awesome villain character. Like in terms of movie villain characters, like he's underrated in my opinion. He's very good, a very good character. What else? So they meet the mom. He's kind of forced to introduce Vincent to her, and he's very polite and everything like that. It's just like he can fake. I don't want to say he fakes, but it's like he carries himself in a way like typical average person would carry themselves when like meeting people and how to, you know, socialize. But Max sneaks out with Vincent's briefcase, runs out the. Oh, and by the way, as they enter the hospital, they end up bumping into Fanning, who's there to go to the morgue to check on all these, you know, killings that was just happened 30 minutes apart from each other, according to the mortician. And he points out how each of the bodies have similar gunshot wounds, where it's like 2 shots to the chest and 2 in the head, and like centimeters apart. So these are professionals, and that's where Fanning realized, oh, most of these guys, like, well, all of them had the same wound pattern, so obviously been done by the same person. But most of these guys so far has been people part of this, you know, it's supposed to be like witnesses to a trial they need to testify for. So one by one they're being off. So now he's calling in to deal with this. All the while, like, you know, Max is running out the hospital and tosses Max's stuff all over the freeway and gets run over by trucks and everything like that. And just a stunned look on like Vince's face, like, what? And so now he's forcing Max to go to the person who hired him, Reyes, to his club. I'm pretty sure it's Reyes. Am I yeah, Reyes. Go to Reyes's club to request, because he has two more people on his list that he needs to resolve, and it's like, it's not gonna be over just because you toss my stuff out on the street. We're going to retrieve the last two documents, and I'm not going in there because I need to keep my incognito. So you're going to pretend to be me because they don't know what I look like. So you're going to walk in there, request for the last data. I don't care how you do it, you just get it. And Max points out, it's like, if I mess up, then they will kill you. Yes. And if you are, because you got till like 10 o'clock, it gets approaching this 10 o'clock p.m. Point in the night, and it's like, if you're a minute past 10 o'clock, then I'm gonna go back to the hospital and I'm gonna kill your mother. So I suggest you hop to it. So he goes in there, all the while they're being monitored. Well, at least he's being monitored. He's way in a cab, in the way it's the camera's position, you can't tell who's in the cab or not. But Max goes in, pretends that he is Vincent, and the fact that it's like, throughout the course of the night, hanging with Max to try, to try to alleviate his nervousness, because the fear is set in. But he's like adopted Max's like mannerisms. It's like, and using the same line he told Max earlier in the night, where it's like, after the first killing, it's like, you gotta adapt, I Ching, whatever. It's like, you gotta roll with it. So he's used that same line to Reyes. It's like, when I never like completed through the 6 years, when I've never completed my job. So I lost the doctors. I had a tail, I had to toss them. Things happen. Got to roll with it. So he gets the last two documents. Of course, Felix then tells one of his men to follow him, so in case he doesn't complete his job, off him. So Vince is surprised he actually got the documents. So it's like, now you get the last two people. The next person is Lee Kim or something like that. So he's at this other club. So while Fanning and other FBI agents who's supposed to be in charge of this big time case, where these witnesses are being off one by one, they're suspecting that Max, who's playing as Vincent, might be a hitman, like pretending to be a normal dude. So Fanning doesn't believe all that stuff, because it's like, this dude doesn't have any priors and no history of any issue. So it's like, all of a sudden he's turned hitman. Like, it's kind of weird. So they tell him to this club, and while Vincent takes out Reyes' goon that's been following him, because he was peeping that, but he also takes out Lee and his bodyguards, and Max bumps into Fanning, and it's like I'm not the guy. It's like, Fanning's like, I believe you. So Fanning trying to lead Vincent out the club into safety, but then Vincent's already outside. He shoots Fanning dead, which is kind of shocking. When I was first watching this as a kid, I was like, wow, you saw the typical lead hero cop in these type of situations, you shot him, and it's like, it's kind of unprecedented in films like these. It's not like it never happened, but it's kind of rare, and you never guess something like that would happen. So it's like, your salvation just got shot dead. So Vincent takes Max and brings him back to the cab so they can go to the last stop. And Max is just, at this point, just fed up with Vince's BS, and he starts speeding up the car, and it's like, man, he was going to help me. And it's like, yeah, like, maybe, but it's like, told you, like, I need you. But they also gained a little bit of Vincent's background a bit. And it's like it's happened like earlier, you know, at least prior to like going to the club, where it's like Vincent points out like no, I think it's happening in the same. Vincent points out like, you know, I never knew my mother. She died, you know, I died when I was born. My father like drank, beat me. Went to the foster system, went back to him, showing that, you know, life was not kind to him. Very like, you know, polar opposite to like Max, where it's like Max never knew his father, but he's raised by his mother and is a little bit more nurturing. And you know, his life, you know, wasn't perfect, but it was like more easygoing compared to Vincent's route, where he went to, where somehow he just got into, he had like a very rough upbringing, so kind of caused his cynicism and nihilism, where it made him an effective hitman later in life. We'll never know like how he got into that stuff. Who knows how people turn to hitman? Usually it's like, I'm thinking like, oh, ex-military or something like that, and has some type of connection or something. But Max is just like fed up already, because it's like, you know, it's just like it's gone so crazy. So he speeds up the car and crashes it, because it's like, you know, pretty much like, you know, he stopped being like that meek guy. It's like, you know what, you know what, Vincent, go F yourself, and then just like crash the car. This is probably leading like a funniest moment, where it's like they both not dead, but they clearly like, you know, bruised a bit. And Vincent takes like a piece of like metal or a pipe or something like that, and just like open up the like cabby window. It's just like wailing on Max. Is like, it's like, like, just like, this is so funny. It's just like so, the childish antics is like, you little shit. So realizing the cops are coming, so Vincent leaves out and run down the street, leaving his gun. And then like the cops show up, thinking like, oh, Max got into an accident, try to help him, but he notices the body poking out of the trunk. So he's about to arrest Max. Max notices that on the laptop, that the last person on Vincent's list is Annie, the prosecutor. So now he's like, okay, I gotta save her. So he overpowers the cop, you know, handcuffs him to the car and tells him like, when the cops come, tell him what's going on. I gotta go save this person. I'm sorry about this. So he takes Vincent's gun and starts running down the street, trying to get to Annie's office. He takes a pedestrian cell phone. And by the way, you got Motorola flip phones, so he clearly is definitely dated in a way. Very early 2000s technology. So, and when you know that this stranger's phone is like darn near out of power, very coincidental. So he's trying to call Annie, and Vincent already made his way to like the building, and luckily Annie's on a different floor from her office, where she left her cell phone for some reason. And of course, it's early 2000s. Not everybody was so glued to their phones like they are today, because they're not like a literal computer that can carry themselves every which way they go. They serve a particular purpose, is just calling people, no more, no less. So she on like a different floor, going through some paperwork, where Max calls her. It took her freaking forever to finally pick up the goddamn phone, but he's mentioning about like, hey, don't you have a big case involving Reyes or anything, like dropping all this stuff he should not be able to know. And it's like, I picked up somebody after you. His name is Vincent, and he's coming to kill you. He's literally inside your building. He's 1 floor below you. The phone dies, and she's like, Vincent, Max is making his way to the building, and Vincent is working his way up the next flight where she should be. He destroys all the power in the building, so that way, there's no signals to call in for help. So all the lights are out. even though it should be backup generators for some reason, but there's no such thing for some reason. But she's literally hiding in the shadows. Max making his way there and finally saves her. So he shoots Vincent like in the ear kind of thing. So at least seems like it nicked him. So he's bleeding on his left side. And so he comes chasing after them. And then, of course, it's a funny little thing where he's like breaking the glass window. You know, kind of got these like certain walls is just glass. And he, like Tom Cruise just like, I don't know if it's like on purpose and he just, I don't know, it was by accident and he just left it in the scene because it was kind of funny. Where he just tripped over the chair that he used to break the glass and he just, you know, gets up and just starts running. And of course, in this film, of course, you get the Tom Cruise runs. You see it at least quite a few times here. You gotta do it as his thing now. He's, you know, he should be the way he loves running. He should be able to catch up with these guys fairly fast. And sure, Jamie Foxx is very healthy dude, and he exercises a lot. So I imagine like he can keep up, but not Jada Pinkett Smith. I'm sorry, she's not, you know, unhealthy, but I'm not sure how well that she runs on a treadmill compared to these two dudes who often, especially Tom Cruise, who runs a lot. So, and here's the confusing thing. Instead of going out in the middle of the street, they chose to, you know, Max chose to lead her to like the subway area. And of course, Max then a few minutes later runs down, about to go to the street, and then he like choose to go to the subway. It's like, how would you know if they actually went that way or on the street? And so that always confuses me. Like, you took a wild guess and you managed to be right, and it's like there's no reason why you should had guessed that right. That wouldn't be your first thinking. If I'm chasing after somebody and like my first thought, they must have ran on the street or something. I don't know. It just seems like he guessed right just out of the blue. There's no reason for him to second guess himself that way. But he might sneak on a train, but he sneaks on board, and during like a more when the train's going through a tunnel, there's like it went dark, and they both end up shooting through the doorways. And of course, Vincent, who's normally like a good shot, got distracted by the shadows, and he gets hit by Max. And he drops his gun. He sits down on the bench. And Max and Annie, you know, come out, and Max retells the story about the commuter who died on the train. He's asked Max, "Do you think anybody will notice?" Then he slumps down and dies on the train. And of course, on the next stop, Annie and Max leave out, and the movie ends as they leave. Great movie. Freaking love it. It's an awesome crime thriller, but it's left kind of very ambiguous, where it's like, I don't know, it's like, I like how it ends, but I also still feel wanting, at least leave like one of those like biopics, where it's like how a biopic ends like, oh, some, you know, such and such died after his success, such and such died in 19 whatever, and his music has lived on for ages and something like that. Those little last minute tidbits. And I kind of wish they had at least that, so we'll know, like, did he get his business off the ground after this? How he shaped his life after this ordeal? You know, did Annie prosecute that guy and brought him on extra charges for literally hiring a hitman to come after her and killing all these other people? Like, you assume so, but you don't know. Kind of wish they kind of included that bit, at least somewhat, so that way we'll know. But all in all, it's a great film. Incredible acting from Tom Cruise and Jamie Foxx. Jamie Foxx got Best Supporting Actor, or was nominated for Best Supporting Actor in this, but I think because in the same year he did the biopic of Ray, and and he won like I think an Oscar or something like that, or best actor to that movie. So they couldn't give him best supporting actor in this at the same time because both films came out in the same year. Uh, but oh no, yeah, it's a great film. And get this, uh, one of the writers to this film came up with the idea of the premise of the film because he was like he said when he was seven, it was like Stuart BT or Bitey or BT whatever. When he is like an Australian writer, he said when he took a cab from the Sydney airport when he was 17 years old, he had the idea of a homicidal maniac sitting in the back of a cab with the driver nonchalantly conversing with him, trusting his passenger implicitly. And so that, gave him the idea years later to, come up with the premise of this film, which is not too dissimilar to James Cameron and his idea about the Terminator when he was just literally having like a nightmare about like robots taking over. So it's just like crazy. Usually the greatest films come up with like from the craziest ideas or dreams, but man, it's one of the most successful films. It's literally had like a budget of 50 million or 65 million and raked in the box office of 220 million. So obviously it's incredible. Do yourself a favor, definitely check this out. It's very good. Like I said, the cinematography is great. And like the biggest standouts are Tom Cruise and Jamie Foxx. Because you're just following these two, obviously, but it's just like, man, they're dynamic. And just seeing like all the stuff that he experienced with Vincent, he kind of like, in a way, thanks to Vincent, gives Max the encouragement that he needs to actually be assertive in life, I guess, so, like early in the film, it's like, you guys gonna call that girl on a date? Don't wait forever. You don't want to grow old and looking back with regrets or anything like that. Actually go and do it, kind of situation. Even though most of the artists, I'm pretty sure, will believe that Vincent will probably end up killing this guy because he can't, like, face being known and possibly going to the cops with it. That would be obvious. No loose ends, that kind of thing. Anyway, that is my overall review of Collateral. Incredible film. I love this movie, and once again, Tom Cruise makes incredible villains. Is this movie and Lestat in Interview with a Vampire incredible? Like, aside from like Ethan Hunt, these are like my other favorite portrayals, characters that Tom Cruise portrayed. It's like incredible standouts to this day in my mind. But let me know in the comments below what you think of Collateral. What's your favorite Tom Cruise performances? Any underrated ones that you want to point out? That kind of thing. And I will see you guys in a little bit with my final movie to review for tonight. This is also equally as fun. But I'll see you guys in a little bit. Take care.